An exclusive News Channel 5 investigation first uncovered questions about the death of a little 15-month-old boy. The DA refuses to reopen the case even after a state board concluded last year that Jeffrey Kelton Skaggs' death was no accident. But that's not the only evidence. Our chief investigative reporter Phil Williams dug back into an old court case in which investigators questioned his family's story.
Here in a Hickman County courtroom, state investigators battled the family of a little boy buried not far away. Jeffrey Kelton Skaggs died in 2001 after his skull was fractured, and state investigators wanted the judge to authorize a second autopsy.
They did not want this child to be exhumed.
Former TBI Director Larry Wallace says there were lots of questions about what happened to the 15-month-old child, about the medical evidence, about the family's story of an innocent little fall.
They did not want further details to come out. They wanted it over and done with.
In fact, Jeffrey had been buried not long after controversial medical examiner Charles Harlan had ruled his death an accident. Yet despite the autopsy report, state attorneys brought in the neurosurgeon who had tried to save the little boy's life.
The thing that bothered me about this was the height of the fall that was reported to me was not sufficient to result in this magnitude of a head injury.
State medical examiner Bruce Levy also testified.
We had injuries that didn't match the stories, the multiple stories provided, the stories that changed over time.
Sorry, 911, where's your emergency?
In fact, in the 911 call from the trailer where the boy was staying, his mother's boyfriend never even mentions a fall.
It's almost like he's knocked out.
Has the child been sick?
Yes, he's been sick.
First we hear one story, then we hear another story, then we hear a third story.
A sworn affidavit from a detective says the boyfriend first claimed that Jeffrey was asleep and fell off of a bed, the bed shown in this photo falling onto a carpeted wood floor.
The story later changed to the child may have been jumping up and down on the bed and fell off the bed. Then the child was reaching for something on a dresser and slipped off the edge of the bed.
Take a look at these photos and you'll see why investigators questioned Dr. Harlan's final theory. Remember, Jeffrey was 15 months old and had a full cast on his right leg. The family found what they said were little fingerprints next to a doll that was on top of a nearby dresser. So Dr. Harlan theorized that Jeffrey was trying to reach the doll, step from the bed, and put his right foot, the one with the cast, on this little ledge at the front of the dresser. Then he lost his balance. But instead of falling forward and down into the floor, Dr. Harlan concluded that Jeffrey flipped up and back off of the ledge, spun around, missed the mattress and box springs, and slammed his head into the bed rail. And would the injuries be consistent with any of those stories?
It would be consistent with none of those stories.
He told me that Kelton fell off the bed.
And Jeffrey Kelton Skaggs' mother told the court that she had never pressed her boyfriend, now husband, to explain the boy's fatal injuries.
Have you asked what happened to your son? We don't. If you want to know the truth, it's not a very good topic in our household. Would you want to discuss how your child died every day? No, ma'am, I think I want to know.
Following that hearing, I felt even more frustrated, but I also felt even more in my heart that this case needed to be investigated further, and a second autopsy was needed.
It was something that District Attorney General Mike Bottoms has refused to authorize.
So what about this little boy? What if you're wrong, sir?
Even after the state medical board's ruling in Harlan's case that Jeffrey's death was non-accidental.
I understand the trauma to a family of exhuming a member of the family, especially a child, for a second autopsy.
But Levy says it's the only way to find justice for Jeffrey.
It's important to have these questions answered.
The judge ruled that Jeffrey Kelton Skaggs' body could be exhumed only if requested by the DA for the county where he died, which Mike Bottoms would not do for whatever reason. In the end, investigators say they don't know if his death was homicide. It could be an accident. But what they do know is, Chris, there are a lot of questions that are still not answered.
Well, Phil, it's been 5 years now. Is it too late for that second autopsy?
No, Dr. Levy says with the preservation techniques that are used today, it's not too late if the DA will just authorize it.